This is the Maine Report, a public affairs program produced by the New England School of Communications.
Good morning and welcome to the Maine Report. I'm your host, Nicole Duplessis. Today we will be speaking with a member of ROTC, which is short for Reserve Officers Training Corps. Now, the ROTC is a training program for training commissioned officers for the United States Armed Forces. Today we are joined by Mikael Heikkinen, and he is going to be talking to us about his experience with the ROTC. Welcome, Michael.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. So, the ROTC is meant for college students.
Yes.
So, what does it take for somebody to become involved in the ROTC?
It's pretty simple. So, as a cadet, all you have to do is just sign up for ROTC just like any class. The additional kind of stuff that you have to do is in the morning, every morning at 6 a.m., we have to do PT. So you show up to that, you show up to your ROTC classes, and you're in it.
So do they look for like specific requirements and specific qualities when somebody joins the ROTC?
Specific things are obviously citizenship. It's the same kinds of requirements that you'd see with enlistment. Other than that, there's really no other barring circumstances that would prevent you from being an ROTC, other than obviously health kind of stuff, but that's also inclusive in the enlisted side.
Oh, okay. Now, are there certain college majors that are preferred in the ROTC, or is anybody welcome? Anybody's
welcome. As far as getting scholarships, though, the Army's making a big push currently for what they call STEM majors, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There's more money set aside for those kinds of majors. But anybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what your major is.
How many different kinds of majors do you normally see? Do you normally see like nursing, or does it vary a lot?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of variety as far as what our cadets have for majors. I'm a psychology major. We have nursing majors, kinesiology. It really doesn't. There's no major that we don't have really.
Okay. Now, I know you guys go through a lot of training throughout the course of a school year. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk about a little bit of like what that training entails?
Well, I mentioned we have PT, and that's every morning at 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. So that's where training starts. So that's the one key part that we consistently do. We also have every week we do training on different kinds of tactical labs. For instance, this week we have key leader engagement training, which is simply how to talk with somebody of a different culture. For that training, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing in people from different cultural backgrounds and people who speak different languages to our ROTC battalion AO, and what we'll be doing is just having cadets sit down and talk to them, which is a pretty key ability in the Army.
What do cadets normally gain from that? I mean, like you said, it's a key ability. So maybe for somebody that's new to the ROTC, what's normally their reaction?
Well, initially, it's a brand new experience, so they kind of have to get over the jitters of talking to somebody who is completely different background. But the idea behind having this kind of program and training is that we're trying to teach officers and Army leaders not just to be people who 1 + 1 = 2. It's not all about just reading the book and knowing the answer. In the battlefields that we see today, what we need from leaders is that they have to be adaptive. So we need them to be able to think critically, and that's kind of what this training offers.
Now, aside from, I guess, in the field training, do you guys do book work as well?
Yes, we do. We spend a lot of time in the classroom as well. We have our professors who we call them cadre, but essentially they're Army officers and NCOs who just train us on differing areas of the Army. Sometimes it's simple stuff like equal opportunity policy, but then other times it's more specific to tactical kind of stuff.
Now, the book work that you guys do you guys normally apply that in the field soon after? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, everything that we do learn in the classroom setting is oftentimes applied. For the MS1s, 2s, and 3s, most of that kind of training is oriented towards individual tasks and a little bit of the leadership, but once they get to junior, senior level, they get more of the leadership opportunities. So as an MS1 or 2, which is a freshman or a sophomore, they focus more on just learning basic soldier skills.
Okay. Now for the MS1, 2s, and 3s, do they normally switch roles throughout training, or what kind of roles do they normally play throughout training?
So an MS1 or an MS2, they primarily fill the roles of what would be lower enlisted, for instance, privates, specialists. MS2s, they get some more leadership opportunities, so they would be the equivalent of a sergeant. But once you hit MS3 level, that's when you start to take on roles of either a squad leader, which would be typically a sergeant level position, all the way to the commander level, which would be a captain level, which is an officer.
So can you maybe talk a little bit about some of the roles that you've played so far in some of the training?
Well, personally, I'm the public affairs officer for the battalion, so my main job is to simply take pictures of all the events as well as maintain Facebook and our interactions with outside organizations. But my fellow MS4s, what they typically do is they have to run the battalion, meaning they make sure everybody knows where to go, making sure all the training is occurring. Specific to training, we're actually responsible for coordinating all the training and planning the training. So it's not just something that we every year just do the same thing. We have to come up with it on our own.
Now, is the training mandatory for every cadet, or are there certain trainings that certain cadets attend that others don't?
No, all training is mandatory for all cadets. We do have extra training for those cadets that feel that they want to gain a little bit more experience with whatever the task or the skill is, but all training is mandatory.
Okay. Do you feel like with the new cadets coming in, what do you think that some of their fears might be? Like, I know you've been there, so what do you think some of their fears might be?
Well, one of the big ones, and just today we had it's called the APFT, the Army Physical Fitness Training, or fitness test, but it's a PT test, and during that test, what cadets are expected to do is 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run in a certain time. So that typically I've noticed is one of the big fears of incoming cadets. They're worried how they're going to perform on that kind of stuff. But to those who would have those fears, I would also tell them that we do PT like 3 days a week. So we're going to work to get you to that level, so have no fear there. The classes are pretty straightforward, so there's really no fear there. We'll walk you through what you need to know. But other than that, they seem to be ready to go.
Oh, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
So on top of being a full-time college student, doing the book work for ROTC and going through the training, how do you guys balance it all?
Well, depends on your major, depends on what else you have going on personally. I'm also a resident assistant on campus. I work in a laboratory on campus. So I have a lot to balance, but those are tasks and skills that you're going to have as an Army officer. So it's good to have that kind of exposure now rather than when I get into the Army. So it's kind of training me for that.
Have you seen some cadets kind of struggle? And I mean, if they've struggled, how did they come out of it?
Well, if it's academic struggles, then what our cadre typically do is they're willing to work with that cadet because school comes first, because you can't commission without your degree. So if you fail, you can't commission. So one of our highest priorities is to make sure that the cadets' academics are being fulfilled. So there have been instances where cadre have actually worked with the cadet to take them out of the training, perhaps like FTX or something like that, or field training exercise, so that they have an opportunity to focus on their schoolwork. But that's kind of the key thing, is that our cadre are willing to work with any cadet if it's school-oriented stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go too far, because when we come back, Michael's going to tell us a little bit about his experiences with the ROTC and his future plans. Stay tuned.
Right here in Bangor, Maine is a new day. You are part of a team with passion and creativity. It's about personal attention at NESCom. You got to pull your weight around here, even if it is the live truck.
Radio's all about personality. Hey, they can't see you.
Today, Coach Nason is preparing students for success.
Another practice day.
Fade up, fade down, fade up. We need a brand image. Go. Okay, here's the game plan.
Get caught buzz driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom.
It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to the Maine Report. I'm your host, Nicole Duplessis, and today we are speaking with a member of the ROTC. We are joined now by Mikael Heikkinen. Thank you again for joining us.
Good to be here.
Thank you. So in the first segment, we kind of talked about what it takes to be part of the ROTC, some of the steps that the cadets go through, but now we're going to talk a little bit about what brought you to the ROTC. So I guess what motivated you to be part of the ROTC?
Well, prior to my enlistment, I was actually enlisted in the Army prior to coming to college, but the end plan was always to be in the ROTC program. So once I finished my training, I just naturally wanted to come to the University of Maine and do my ROTC program.
So you said you are at the University of Maine on a scholarship, correct?
Yes.
So can you maybe talk a little bit about the ROTC scholarship program?
Mm-hmm. So within the ROTC program, we have different kinds of scholarships. Some scholarships are offered through the National Guard or the Reserves. There are also what are called line scholarships, which are also called sometimes active duty scholarships. But these are scholarships that pay for all of your tuition. So, and they're highly sought after and they're highly competitive. But we do have them offered annually through our program.
So how do you think it's helped you? I mean, you didn't go to college right out of high school.
Right.
So how do you think this scholarship has played a positive role?
Well, it certainly helped me to stay in college and to get squared away financially. When I first came to college, I didn't understand how the whole billing process worked. I thought the first bill I got was for the entire year, and to my shock, I found out that that bill was actually for just the fall.
Right.
So the ROTC scholarship came at a very critical time in my educational financial area, and it helped me to pay for my entire college experience.
So now that you don't really have the finances to stress about,
Right.
How has your experience been so far?
Well, my experience has been great just because I'm able to focus more on just school, which that's what the ROTC program wants me to do, just focus on school and my studies, and that's what it's allowed me to do.
And what are your plans when you graduate? I know you're graduating in the spring, so what are your future plans as far as your academics go and as far as, being part of the ROTC?
Well, I will be going to the active duty side upon graduation in the spring. So once I graduate, I'll receive orders to go to some military post and begin my work as a second lieutenant.
And any advice for individuals that are looking to join the ROTC?
Don't be afraid to do it, and if you're going to do it, go 100%. It's sad when you see cadets who they slowly start to fall off to the wayside. You need to kind of have some personal drive and motivation to be there and definitely show up.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Maine Report.